Welcome back to the Best of the West. We are about to head into the grand. All right, those are our 4 nominees from our top 4 teams throughout the tournament so far. David from Char, we have Hawklight from Tekka Dynasty, Nox from Mafty, and Gasman from Last Second.
Ooh, this is such a tough one for me. I mean, it always is tough, but I mean, I think just from what we've seen today, of course, these stats were all from the day number 1, I believe, and the oh my gosh, the David stats would just be skyrocketing. Of course, I don't want to imply that anybody should vote for any way. You get to choose how to vote. The Twitter poll will be in chat. The link to it there. Please vote on Twitter. All of these players have been absolutely killing it. I mean, just to talk about it, Hawklight flexing onto that incredible Gym Sniper, Nox, who we honestly haven't almost got to see as much of the rest of these because Mafty's been doing so well. And then Gasman, who has shown that he can play way more than just the Barbados, just flexing to about 5 different suits throughout the day. So honestly, today is a big day of just these players showing that they can do different things. Even Nox showing off a little bit of a different skill set. And so I think everyone deserves it, but you all get to choose who actually deserves it.
That's right. There will be a link in chat. Go over to Twitter with that link and vote for who your MVP, your Landfest MVP is. Now, with that out of the way, let's start talking about our grand finals match. We didn't have to wait long for the rematch from the upper bracket between Mafty and Char. It was Mafty, of course, taking that win, sending them down to the lower bracket. But you have to imagine Char now looking for some revenge here.
Oh, yes, definitely. They have been playing really well throughout this entire tournament, and you know that they definitely didn't enjoy taking their first loss, and really only loss from the side of Mafty. And again, this is kind of an omni grand finals, right? This is 2 teams that have players that play together constantly. They are part of a team that will, they are all part of Mafty, basically. That is the top team currently in the Pilot Academy standing. So this is a friendly match, but there's still money on the line only for first place. We got to see who the best in the West is. They're still going to be trying their hardest. I'm sure as far as like a moral victory, though, they're all very happy that they're there.
Also, we do have our Matcherino page, so make sure you check that out as well while you're making the vote for the MVP. Contribute to the prize pool. There are free ways to do it on the website. If you don't want to, or if you don't have the ability to contribute with actual money, you can just go ahead and finish the quest on Matcherino. It will help. Every little bit helps, of course, for our amazing players that are putting on such an amazing performance throughout this weekend. But now going to the grand finals, some things are changing. Mafty will be starting off with, of course, a winner's bracket. Upper bracket bonus, having that advantage.
Yes, this is a new thing that's being changed for a lot of the, like, for example, like Pilot Academy tournaments and this tournament as well. I personally love it a lot. So the way that it used to be in best of 5s was that it was basically just like ban, pick, and then ban and then pick, or basically just the kind of the normal way we do it. Now, the winner's side team has an advantage. They get to, right off the bat, pick of any of the maps. The entire map pool is available to them, and they get to make the first pick. Now, of course, Gundam Evolution is a game that is definitely just too long for a bracket reset, so giving that little bit of an advantage to the winning team, I think, is a great way to reward them for being in there without losing at all. They get the first pick, then the first ban goes to the losers bracket team, and the second ban goes to the winners bracket team, and then they just pick back and forth from there. But the big difference that you just have to pay attention to is what map they pick first. That's going to be, of course, Mafty getting that advantage. I'm not sure which map they're going to decide to go to, but this is the first time that we've literally in any of these tournaments had an opportunity for a team to choose a map before any bans.
Yeah, and speaking of which, let's get into the picks and bans for our final match of the day for the grand finals here for the Best of the West, presented by the Gundam Evolution New Type League. Also sponsored, of course. I want to shout out those. We've got Sartorius, Landfest, and Bloodline helping us put all of this together. And now, the big question, what is Mafty's first pick going to be?
I'm really excited to see. Oh, wait, is this the pick or is this the ban? I think this might be just the first actual pick. They might be going to Thermal Plant. I'm sure production, if we can get the confirmation in our ears, but that is the pick. That is the pick. You get to see it right there. We are going to Thermal Plant, the map that has been banned, I think, actually every single time that we've been on broadcast this weekend. But this time, it's still in that 1-2 spot, just it happens to be a pick. It's going to be a brawl for game number 1.
And no sightings whatsoever in this tournament on broadcast for Blackport. Interestingly enough, Quarry will also get banned out. And now we are going over to our next round of picks.
All right, that's going to be Colony Trading Post as our a more mid-range map, and then back to another domination map. Then Underground Command Center and Harbor City will be the decider. So Black Fort really getting hated out a lot. And I mean, it's a map that I love to watch these teams play at. I'm surprised that it's banned quite so much. I would love to know why. But overall, it's going to be just that and Quarry out. Guaranteed these first 3 maps are going to be seen. And then the last 2, if we get lucky.
Yeah, I mean, we had very few sightings of the domination map. Some mountain R&D across the weekend. No sightings whatsoever of Thermal Plants on the broadcast. So I'm glad that we get both of those. And of course, a destruction map coming in on Colony Trading Post. So that's going to be exciting there across the ways. Again, I think it is super important when we get to these very objective-centric maps. Both of those destruction maps are in play for the first 4. Hopefully, though, this set goes all the way to 5. We had an amazing run back from last second who were able to get that reverse sweep in the grand finals in our last event. But this time around, it's Mafty versus Char. We're going to have to take one more break before we get the action started. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll have map number 1 of the grand finals right after this.
The mission is about to begin.
Oh, that was perfect. Welcome back to the Gundam Evolution New Type League. This is the grand finals of the Best of the West. The rematch now from the upper bracket. It was Mafty who got the upper hand last time, but we'll see if Char can make the adjustments. We're starting off on a map that we have not seen all weekend, and it is Thermal Plant.
Yes, the first winner's advantage pick in our history here on broadcast, and it is Thermal Plant. It was a pick from Mafty, and just like the voice said, it's time for the mission to begin. We're starting off on point A here, and we see Nox, one of our MVP potentials, on that Barbados once again.
On the other side, though, he has to contend with David, who has been an absolute monster on the new Gundam, and there's the first pickoff, taking out Enders. That is huge. Nox now creating a lot of space for his team. They do end up getting the repair, bringing him back in, and that might have been a bait. Carl Sagan ends up going down.
Can I say this is the first time? Oh, wait, actually, hold on. Two huge picks here on the side of Team Char. They're back on the red side after the last set, which, again, is going to give them that guaranteed Char advantage, I feel. But this is one of the first times that I'm glad that we actually have Offbeat Alligator named that, and it's not Nox versus Baranox. A little too confusing, but makes it gooder now.
Yeah, despite getting those picks for Char, they were not able to get the initial opening of the point on A, so Mafty were able to secure 13, almost 14% for themselves. Now here's the defensive setup coming out. We still have another 25 seconds on the point. Zyros is up top. Nice little flame there to force him back. Looks like it's just going to be a positioning play for 20 seconds left to go. We are now making the rotate on over towards that C site. James gets caught on the rotation, and Arrow will chase him down.
We're going to see, I think, a lot of the duels between the Zaku 2 range this time around. But, oh, the forward hold here. And we are finally going to be rotating around. But there were still a lot of people from Char on C. So we'll see who, I'm sorry, on A. We'll see who can actually get to C first.
Yeah, so 30 points basically taking there for Char as they are looking to re-engage. Now, this is going to be a different point altogether over here on C. A nice little pickup there for Enders taking out Arrow. Man, Dom is such a great tool to try and deal with that backline threat. James on the front line, though, with his squad. Needs to find an angle to approach from Carl Sagan, though, on that tail rider. Finds the pickup onto Enders, equalizing things until Nox comes in, gets that one shot on to Baranox.
Saw that leap, unfortunately, just barely missed, but oh, nice, the pick for a pick. Listic, you had an unfortunate classic Dom moment of the rocket landing too close to yourself and taking yourself out, even though you actually do manage to hit it. The classic splash damage character conundrum, but this is so even. We are within a percentage of each other. It looks like all of Char is respawning now. They're getting ready for this push in. Kaiser's in a forward position, and that's going to be the funnels activated for this push. There's 25 seconds left on this. If they take this, they can still gain the lead, and not a lot of members actually on site from the side of Mafty, as they're actually going down quite heavily.
Yeah, Zyros was lurking for that punch, wasn't able to find the moment for it. He does end up getting repaired, brought back into things. But throughout all this, Mafty are still scrapping, and they still have favor on the point, so they will get all of it there on C. Nothing taken for Char as we go back on over to the other side of the map. It's going to be A site. Zyros is still holding on to that punch, but he's going to have to be careful. He has to spot out Carl Sagan. That's who he needs to shut down, who has that Hades available.
Oh, this is like a Mountain R&D map. We're going A to C to A to C to A, and it's like, okay, we may never actually see B. It's just a rotation point at this point, but it looks like Char has a great positioning on the site preemptively. We'll see exactly where Mafty decides to push through. The fact that they lost Listic as kind of like a pick before they got there was pretty huge, pretty unfortunate for them, but they're just going to be pushing through that front door.
Screaming Nimbus coming out from Enders here just to get them off the points, but it looks like someone steps off, and despite getting it first, Char end up losing out on control. Mafty take it, and now they're expending so many G maneuvers into this one just to take the point on it back. So the lead is still in the favor of Mafty for now, but we still have another 30 seconds here on the A site for Char to try and take back that lead. A nice little cleanup at the end. They'll get the repair onto Kaiser as well. Taking a look at the G maneuvers, definitely in the favor of Mafty right now. They've got Profi, who has that funnel ready, along with Nox on that Barbados G maneuver, and Arrow has a Heat Hawk slash. Can easily win out duels with that one.
It looks like we will be going to B, but again, then we're within just a few percentage of each other. We're both at about 2/3 finished here. This is a close match to start things off, even just a close round to start things off. But going to B, we've got amazing positioning for Team Mafty. Focus is above, Listic is above. Having both of those suits in particular above, doing that AoE damage below can be gigantic. But Nox using that G maneuver, not getting any picks, actually getting taken out by David, by David's rocket. In the end, that is going to be a huge resource loss as B is starting to unlock in about 5 seconds.
Yeah, I think that might have been a solo ulti just to try and deal with David, but David now has his G maneuver on. Up the point is about to unlock. You can see the focus fire going down here as David will go down to Arrow, and it is Mafty once again getting onto the point first. About to tie things up here, and it's going to be the final point. It's going to be all on B. We'll see who comes out on top here in the first round, but I love that it's been back and forth here for the first round as Thermal Plant. It's our first time seeing it as well on the broadcast, and it has not disappointed yet.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad we get to end at B as well for the first time that we get to see it here. But we get the Alligator just landing some great shots on people up top. Enders as well gonna get a pick, but Kaiser going down, so not gonna have that defensive prowess to get in there. However, Enders is getting jumped on by Nox. Does manage to escape, just barely getting out of there. Really good mobility. Not always the easiest thing to do with that suit, but I don't know if anybody's on site. Extra time is ending, and they are just barely not there.
Nox playing the goalkeeper basically at the end with that Barbados to stop anyone from being able to touch the point. Still, it was a real back and forth in round number 1 here on Thermal Plant, going the way of Mafty, but we got to see that this just came down to a brawl. There were no clean 6v6s, and that's kind of the nature of how this matchup works now, especially on Thermal Plant, especially on a domination map where we have dueling Zaku 2 ranges going down, where we're seeing it basically going back and forth between both of our Zaku 2 ranges, but Arrow getting a little bit more of the support there at the end. He got 11 kills for himself, 15k damage. James just not being able to find the same opportunities.
I do have to say, though, looking at the damage on Team Char, aside from David, who is, of course, David, everybody was within about 1,000 damage of each other. It was so incredibly even. And even David was only a few thousand above the next, highest damage. Like, it's just spread so evenly. It's just their team, as usual. They're going to be brawling. They're going to be even across the board. This was a close round, and we've got 3 rounds just to even finish out this first map. We're going to go into number 2. It looks like the comps are the same as far as I can tell.
We're starting off on B this time, so not playing off the edges here. Straight out the gut, out of spawn. Enders is the first one to fall down. Might have taken a knack to the face, but as they go for the retreat, they end up finding 2. That's going to be 3 coming in for them. Now might be the early advantage for Char. James is able to back away onto the pack because of lack of presence there. They end up losing out on a few members. Carl Sagan picking up a number of kills for his team. Coffee falls in that Zazabi duel. Once again, it's Mafty taking position on the point first.
The high ground here is so important. There's really not like a high ground to take for any of the other sites on Thermal Plant, but on B, being able to preemptively be the ones that are up there, it really just controls the entire site, especially if you have, I mean, the suits that kind of everybody should be having. Wow, nice little shot right there. But Carl Sagan sitting up there, Listic sitting up there, Focus sitting up there. It is just going to be too hard to push back. There's still a good amount of time on it, 30 seconds, and actually, this is a great push from Char so far.
Yeah, they aren't able to clean them up quite yet. Coffee is on the point. Someone's still contesting. It's going to be Nox. He's low HP, and he's still trying to go for the combo. He will get finished off. And now he's got the stagger coming in from Arrow, being able to delay with that smoke screen as well. Seems like only maybe 10% going the way for Char, as now the rotations are being made. We're going on over to the A site.
That was more of a lead, I would say, more of like a dominant, like single site than we've seen before. But like I mentioned, B can be maybe the hardest to retake of all of these sites, potentially, depending on what happens. So now going back to A, we're going to see a lot more of the brawls that we saw earlier in the first round of this map. It looks like already we're going to have Char holding a more forward position, but this focus punch could be huge if he can even get there. He's going to get the punch off, but it's going to go to waste. A good amount of damage onto Alligator, but honestly, just no follow-up, which is really unfortunate. Wasn't quite able to get as many people as they wanted, and that means that Char is going to be in a pretty decent position, especially with that pickup on Zyros.
Yeah, but Mafty, once again, at the point of loss, they will go ahead and take control of it first. Carl Sagan has the Hades ready. He needs a little bit of backup there. We'll see if Arrows can possibly end up picking up that Heat Hawk slash for himself. Ballistic able to take out Enders on the other side is going to delay this contest. So now the regroup is coming out from Char. On the other side, though, they do have a Hades for themselves. Well, maybe not for long, as the Alligator is extremely low. Zyros with a punch to try and get into the back. He ends up falling to Profi, and James uses the Heat Hawk slash with no follow-up either. Finally gets that kill onto Carl Sagan, but the point is being contested. So he doesn't really get anything for his effort. The biggest lead that we've seen so far here on Thermal Plant. Mafty might be able to close this out in 2.
Ooh, this is honestly just a gigantic lead. This is so different than what we saw before. There have been times where there's been an advantage for Char in the fight, but the positioning of Mafty has made it really hard to even just physically move in. So even when they're up on numbers, they haven't been able to actually cap the points. But C could potentially be the final point here. It's going to be, of course, the most vertical of the sites. However, no real true high ground to take. So we'll see how they can do. Kaiser immediately playing very aggressive, trying to take out Profi. They are going to get it with the help of Zyros, and Carl Sagan is going to be the only one really defending this top ground for Mafty.
We wanted to chase after James there, but take a look, David just pushing up towards their spawn. Barbados in his face. He's able to break his ankles and back away. Listic gets into the middle of the action there. Has to be careful, but he does end up picking the kill onto off the Alligator, and Arrow winning out on that duel. Once again, up against James here. But this time around, it is Char that is able to take the point. We do have the Screaming Nimbus to try and displace everyone and chase them down. David will fall to the Hades. They still haven't taken the point quite yet. The Hades has proven quite potent for his squad. Ultimately, as they get the cleanup fairly shortly here, they should be able to get it. But you can see the delay that's coming out from James. That smoke screen has been used. We'll see how much longer he can survive for. Ends up picking up a kill onto Focus. Finally, Mafty flip it in their favor.
That's actually huge, though. To just be able to delay slightly, you can see the maximum now amount of percentage that you can get as Mafty is 97.9. If that hadn't been delayed just like 2 seconds, you know, as long as it was, that would have been a spot where they just had to push. 1000% had to push, but instead they're going to allow themselves as Team Char to set themselves up on B. They're holding this high ground preemptively. This is a great opportunity, at least the best they're going to have, to be able to get the 60% that they actually need to make the comeback.
Focus and Arrow, the only ones that will have a G maneuver for this fight. For Char, they are basically on empty. Zyros, though, is getting close. He's at 85% for his punch right now. Focus, try to go for it, but it was a big whiff as Baronoff is able to stay alive for that one. So again, it's Char starting off the fight with the advantage, but in the scrap, they lose out on 2. Nox is able to find that kill onto Kaiser, and Mafty are able to scrap back a small advantage until David has something to say about it. He hops on in. The point is still getting contested, and now David will go ahead off his G maneuver just for good measure, because this is it. This is where it's going to end here on B.
Yeah, they're getting no more chances than this, and this is definitely taking advantage of it. That's going to be 3 picks so far. Everybody on the side of Char is up. They're all at about half life, but the forced retreat, you can see Nox backing up, trying to regroup with the team. That means that they're going to get a little bit of space, get their health back, and they're already starting to earn these points. It took them quite a while to actually get it, but they're still in the position that they want to, and there are no G maneuvers up in the entire game.
Yeah, James is the closest one right now at 80% on that Falcon 2 range. We also have both of our Doms basically in a race for that Screaming Nimbus. 70% to the 76. There we go. Off-speed Alligator finds a crucial pick up the Nox, and Listic falls as well. The only trade is going to be Enders until David finally falls. It's going to be a 3-for-3 though, so the point can still be contested. You see someone dropping down onto it. No one is there on the points until they swap it right back in an instant. Extra time ticking down, but it's going to be Char who need to stay on the point. They cannot give up anything anymore. Off-beat Alligator still getting chased down. His Hades has ended, but he goes down, does not get the heal off just in time. He does have it down for his team to try and stay alive. You can see James trying his best to stay alive, but he no longer has that smoke screen. Overtime ticking away, and Carl Sagan, they've got the G maneuvers to finish things off here for Mafty. Profi will take out Kaiser, and it will be the 2-0 here on Thermal Plant for Mafty.
Just barely. That was, I don't know if I've ever seen a single point be taken back and forth that many times in a fight. That was back and forth like 5 different times. And you mentioned it before, but it really did all come down to who was the first really Dom to be able to pick up their full G maneuver and then use it on that point. And it did come down to the fact that Mafty had it available. Enders had it in the end, but it just wasn't, or I guess I should say he wasn't there because he died just very barely before he was able to get it. So just a big difference right there as far as who was able to stay up. And by a big difference, I mean just a tiny difference that means the entire world. That was a great way to fight back. Almost made the huge comeback, but map 1, the guaranteed chosen map before the bans, the first one we ever got, is going to go to the team that picked it, Mafty.
Yeah, and you know, when we're speaking about the G maneuvers as well, I think, you know, this matchup in particular really showed that it came down to a lot of individual plays. There wasn't the same kind of discipline when it came down to G maneuvers. It was sometimes you just got to pop it when you need to, and we weren't seeing the same kind of rotations coming out for like good team fight wins. It was just scrap, 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 fight, 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 fight for every last inch and percentage point. And I don't know what that means for this overall set. For everyone at home, it just means pure entertainment. So yeah, that's map number 1 going the way of Mafty, taking the early advantage in this best of 5. Like I said, that's a 5 map set, hopefully, that we have in store for us. We're going to take a short break. When we get back, we'll have map number 2 after this. Welcome back to Best of the West, and here it is, the map summary of our first map in the grand finals. And I mean, no surprises here, seeing the damage boards. Unfortunately, though, it did not translate into a win for David. 47,000 damage, clearing ahead the lead for David.
I honestly just can't even understand it at this point. Like, it's just one of those things where it's just like, does David just do more damage than other people? Like, just statistically, did he put his talent points into strength or something? Like, I just don't even understand. Like, it's just so much, and it's not like this is David and a team of like random ranked players. This is literally like 10 of the best players, or I'm sorry, 12, I can't do math, of the best players in the world, easily, without a doubt. And it's just like, it's not like it's just like, oh, you get a few thousand more. It's like, oh yeah, you just casually do 10,000 more than the next best. I just don't understand it.
It's just a David buff. Also taking a look at other matchups. Arrow versus James on that Zaku 2 ranged mirror matchup. And look at how close it was. It came down to a 4-kill difference, but the damage, only 700 damage difference between them. That's just one mobile suit.
That is true. Very even like half of one if it's something strong like a new Gundam. But they have, I mean, this has been really a tournament that has shown the strength of Zaku 2 ranged without a doubt. Of course, we're talking about a few different suits that have really been showing off. The Pale Riders were Carl Sagan and Uppy Alligator, also really close in damage to each other. There's a reason why that match was so close. Everybody is mirroring each other in suits. Look at Anders and Listic within 1,000 damage of each other. Zaros Focus is a little bit like within 5,000 of each other. We have Profi and Kaiser within 1,000 damage of each other. Like, almost everybody was within 1,000-ish damage of their opposites on the other side. It's great to see. I'm assuming it's going to be something similar here.
Yeah, we are now moving on to map number 2. It's Colony Trading Post here. And we've seen these destruction maps be absolutely killer. We'll see, though. It's Mafty starting off on the defense, and really excited to see what they end up picking for their lineup. And it looks like it's basically what they ran on Thermal, except yeah, Nox has been swapped out.
Oh, yeah. That's the Mafty secret weapon, is that they just have like 1 million players. I mean, also the fact that like basically everybody on the other side as well can technically switch out if they need to, or like if in any other tournament, that would be a part of their roster as well. So it's just ridiculous how many players they have. It's always, usually we're like, okay, what suits are different? And we're like, wait a minute, what players are different? And that's just how it tends to be. But we've got, honestly, very similar comps overall, aside from that switch.
Okay, Listic, hopefully, there we go. All right, they repair him back on up. Yeah, Carl Sagan comes in for Nox, and he's going to be picking up the Hyperion Gundam for his squad. On the offense, though, nothing really changing there. James will be on that Zaku 2 range, so we're going to be keeping an eye on that matchup between him and Arrow. And it does seem like the defense will go ahead and give away the waypoint for free, like most squads typically do. And now they're trying to push up to the high ground. You can see the retreat coming up from Mafty to fight over A.
Yeah, just the usual backup. Nothing weird so far. Enders is going to kind of be leading the charge here, looking for a little bit of a pick. Zaro's peeking over to see if there's any juicy flame grenades, and actually that was close to getting the down right there. Focus, look at how low Focus is.
Oh my goodness, he burned down to about 10 HP, but Arrow wins out on the duel, and it's always been who gets the backup in that Zaku 2 range duel. This time around, it's Arrow being able to come out on top with the Sazabi Profi backing him up throughout all of that. So I love how we've got these plays to really back up the Zaku 2 range. It's not just the solo individual backliner. It's a lot of our teams calling the threats and then having the peel in the backline to help them out.
The challenge, I like that. All the way over. I mean, we've seen so much of, well, actually, we're going to get the 1v1 right down there as well. And it looks like Zaro's going to take it over Focus with a little bit of the assist. But we've got a few players on point right now trying to make the best of the situation. Anders is going to get picked back up. This is almost definitely going to be a charge. They're playing on both sides at the moment, and it looks like it's going to get down on A first. That is going to be the high ground one, and the one that people tend to try and go for most, but they just wanted to have the backup plan just in case.
Yeah, literally just hedging your bets. Which one? just in case, an insurance plan there. Now, though, we don't have any G maneuvers online, and so James is just going to be able to do that dry, taking out Focus. from the defenders looking for the post plant. They do end up getting that res, the repair on to focus to bring him back on in, but James gets chased down. He had the Heat Hawk slash, and he is not recoverable here. With the man advantage, Mafty will go ahead and push on in. Need to get up to the high ground. Zyros is looking for this punch, though, to try and slow things down. Really, he just needs the CC arrow. He went out on duel on the lower end, and Mafty comes in to clean up. That's going to be the Mega Charge defuse coming out from Mafty.
Ooh, that was so many situations where they were like one hit away from taking somebody out, and then somebody else shot them in the back instead. It's just a lot of people watching the, like the backs of the other players on their team. It's really good support as far as brawls. This little site, it almost feels like more of like a domination site with just how these brawls end up being. But when you've got your opponent, your teammates' backs, your opponents can't get all the mileage they want out of everything that they have. There are three, of course, G-Movers on the side of Mafty, so they're up in the resource department as well. Zyros going down, gonna get picked up, being knocked down behind safe cover, but there's just not a lot of good options. Honor James used the Heat Hawk slash, doesn't seem like got too much out of it. This is tough for Char so far.
Yeah, Mafty have the Screaming Nimbus, who looks like pushing forward, ballistics, forcing them all back. And the 80s will get popped by Subject as well. Around that high ground, he has great vantage point, just a beat remaining here. They'll be able to finish him off fairly shortly. We do have off-beat Alligator there. No, mid-80s. Ending at the end, he goes in. Doesn't trust his aim to finish it off, but he will go ahead and finish that off. Now, they need to regroup. They need to get the plant down. They are now down to a minute remaining. They got 81.7% on that last Mega Charge, but they want to finish things off. They want to go ahead and hit that second half of the map.
Ooh, that is, I mean, let's just look at the resources here. Oh, actually, this is huge right here. 2 players down, 3 players down now. Char can absolutely push in. The resources are there defensively, but they don't have the players, so that is going to go down on B. We've seen it go down on A almost every single time up until this point. This is going to be a very different defensive game.
Alligator has that high ground to hold the angle for himself. Unfortunately, needs a little bit more backup. Kaiser is getting close to the funnels, but that's going to be the only one yet. Maybe Enders gets that Screaming Nimbus. Now it's Profi trying to push forward with his funnels, but he gets focused down. Carl Sagan will go ahead and push in with the Lancer, taking one with him as Alligator falls. 30 seconds remaining here, and you can see Mafty are just clearing out their angles, getting rid of all the threats before they go for the Mega Charge defuse. He spots out one last remaining member, and they will go ahead and finish him off, get the defuse, and finish out this round.
With only about, I don't know, something about 70-ish%. We'll see right here. Not a bad percent, but it was only on the 81%, but only on the first point. So that is something that is very achievably outdone. It's going to have to be a really strong hold on the side of Team Char here. They can do it for sure. This is, that is a pretty good amount of percentage for the first point, but a lot of times we do see the first point go down eventually on this map, and then we see the more tough spot be that second point, so we'll see how it ends up going. I mean, they were playing well. It just came down, again, all these matches between these two teams are just down to these tiny little moments and these tiny little fights.
By the way, I think this is our first time David not leading in the leaderboard. There's going to be Subject on the other side, rocking that Pale Rider, who eked him out by about 2,000 damage. Now Char here on the defense. No change up in composition for them. They will be sticking with basically what they've been running large majority of this tournament. For Mafty, they will be sticking with what they started off on the defense as well. So Carl Sagan will be continuing to rock that Hyperion unit for himself.
The Carl Sagan Lancer G maneuver into the wall with just off-beat Alligator in it, just like sitting there, just like, yeah, haha. That was really funny. It did manage to help them get the numbers advantage to win that final fight. It was just pretty funny to lock somebody into just one person in one corner, and hey, it works because it leaves you a lot less vulnerable, and just getting one kill, getting that numbers advantage can be gigantic. But I've loved Carl Sagan on the Hyperion, not a pick that we've seen him on, I believe, before today. Just another in his unbelievably large roster of suits that he can play with.
Our arsenal is absolutely insane. And here we go, a defense. We need Char to try and bring this to a 1-1 for hopes of maybe going to map 4, maybe go to map 5. James pushes forward to try and take out Profi, but he is able to back away. Good disengage from them. Personal Flame there onto Profi does a lot of damage, and James is going to continue to hold this angle. Waypoint does now get taken 30 seconds into the map, into the round for them, but Zyros Needs to fall back because his team are trying to recover Enders, who ended up going down on the backside. Kaiser, though, does answer back, taking out Subject, but he ends up falling for his efforts. He was only at about 100 HP on the retreat there. So Mafty are going to go ahead and push their advantage. You can see David playing around the corners. He does excel, I would say, on this map. Carl Sagan gets spot out. They haven't been able to get the Mega Charge down quite yet. They need to reestablish themselves. And a little bit pops off. David needs to heal up as well. Still blinking on HP. He will go for the repeat now. Enders now charging up the high ground as the Mega Charge goes down. It's going to be a second sighting of that B-site plant, though, coming out for Mafty.
Oh, this is tough. You have to clear out both sides to safely be able to disarm at B. You need to clear out, I'm sorry, well, I should say both levels, right? Top level and bottom level. And right now, Up Alligator and Enders both going down. They're about halfway there. They need 30 more seconds, and they've got the numbers advantage. They've got the positioning. We see James right there trying to at least get a little bit of damage in, but when you've got a Zaku 2 range at your back as well, it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world to be trying to get as much damage as possible, but they only have 15 seconds left.
Arrow finds the first pick, though. James ends up going it down. And now Mafty looking to close things out here. Take that early 2-0 lead with only 4 seconds remaining. It's all Mafty on the kill feed. Someone tries to go for a miracle defuse, but it will not go through. Mafty taking a huge 2-0 lead now in this best of 5.
That was, again, it was just such a tough thing to defend at first point for that long, and Mafty was so solid in pushing it and making it, and we get the Carl Sagan MVP, first, I think, of the day, but one that we've seen many times before. However, a Hyperion MVP, not the most common thing in the world, so that's really cool to see. Again, I'm very impressed by the fact that the player who already was probably the, I would say, like, has the most flexible, widest suit pool player has continued to add on more. Carl Sagan could be in like just any spot in the entire game. Like you can just throw Carl Sagan wherever you want. He will be not only useful, but one of the best in the world. Just an unbelievable player. Great to see him on the Hyperion. Even after that nerf, doing extremely well.
Yeah, you would say maybe a pool more expansive than the Cosmos for Carl Sagan there. Sorry, I've been waiting like so long to finally pull that one out. But anyhow, we will be going to a map number 3. We started it off with a domination map. We're going back to a domination map for map number 3 on Mountain R&D. Last time around for our last event, we got to see a reverse sweep coming out from last second. But I don't think Mafty wants to allow that to happen again. We'll see if they can close things out in 3 maps here in this best of 5. We're going to take another break. When we get back, we'll have the continuation of the grand finals here for the best of the West. Welcome back to the Gundam Evolution New Type League Best of the West Grand Finals. With that win on Colony Trading Post, Mafty pushed himself up with a 2-0 lead in this best of 5. Taking a look at the map summary for Colony Trading Post, and it's David. Ultimately, in the end, does take back a small moral victory. He is the highest DPS in the map.
In this map and every other map. Yeah, just in the end, it jumped up. Whatever happened in that second round was just a pretty big boost, but honestly, that map was so fast that we were a pretty low damage game. Once again, you can see that everybody's pretty close to each other overall. There was a little bit of a tougher time for sure getting things started for Team Char, but that's just how it goes sometimes. So they're slightly below aside from David, and realistically, I think this is one of those stat lines that it's just like the map happened so fast we didn't get to see anything all that cool. But I guarantee you, without a doubt, we're going to have a huge stat line for our next map of the day, because we're going to be going to Mountain R&D, which is, of course, one of the most exciting maps to watch. It's always very close. It's such a great showcase of each team's individual skill, and with just the fact that it's domination, there's 3 rounds, but also just the constant level of brawls that we're getting, I think that the numbers are going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's very similar to what we had in our first map, right? When we were over at Thermal Plant. I mean, in the mirror matchups, it's all basically within 1,000. I think this time around, the large difference is Listic versus Enders. There's an almost 8k gap in damage between those two Dom players. And I don't know if you can really count, you know, Hyperion versus New Gundam. Well, David versus anyone else at this point, right? That would be the other one, but Carl Sagan had a lot of great moments regardless with the utility that Hyperion was able to put down. But yeah, we are moving on over to our third map. It is going to be Mountain R&D. Big question is, are we going to have Nox coming back on in to play that Barbados that we get to see fairly often here on Mountain R&D? Will we be possibly seeing Heavy Arms as well, who has been utilized to great effect?
Ooh, well, we are seeing, I mean, both of those things like within an inch of each other right here. As you can see, Nox hovering over that Heavy Arms. Not sure if that's a lock-in, but we did see Heavy Arms do really, really well here. I'm not sure if anybody on these two teams are specializing in Heavy Arms. We know for a fact that the 3rd and 4th place teams of the tournament both had really strong Heavy Arms players within Nostalgia and Gasman. It does look like there was maybe a crash for one of these players, but they'll get back in as soon as they can. So yeah, the Heavy Arms, I would not be surprised for it to not come out just because of who's playing. I'm assuming that there's probably somebody who's tried out Heavy Arms here, but unless you really know how to use Heavy Arms, it's one of those suits that you can't just walk in and just shoot people. You have to have your wind-up time. You have to be positioned preemptively correctly. You have to know exactly what ranges you can flip up onto terrain or off of terrain or over like holes in the middle of points. That you'd have to know exactly what angles you can fire your barrage, your G maneuver, because actually we saw Gasman mentioned earlier, you can actually mess it up, hit a wall, and you're the one who ends up dying because of the self-damage, the AoE damage. So there's just a lot to learn about that character. I'm actually surprised that we saw so much of it within its first release week. I'm sure we're going to see more of it as people learn how to play the suit better, but in this one, I get a feeling they're just going to stick with their tried and trues.
Yeah, but it's still impressive to see how quickly some of our players do adapt, being able to bring in a new unit into your pool so quickly after release. I mean, we got to see that last time as well when we had the Hyperion launch. New Gundam, I think, had a slower little pickup as well. But we get to see, I love that we always kind of almost have this perfect lineup, right? We have a tournament right after a big change. It's always fun to see the shifting. But here we go. We do have Batty coming in, and hey, fan favorite gun take. Oh no! Again, unfortunately here, that's gonna leave Char down a player.
Oh no, on the gun tank. You can't crash as a gun tank. I mean, that definitely happens to me a lot, you know, hard to stop when you're charging forward, but that is going to for sure be another pause here. We'll see what happens if we end up recreating this match. Again, luckily all of these players are sort of teammates and very much friends, so I'm sure there's gonna be no hard feelings. Maybe a little bit of hard feelings for Batty's computer. We'll see if that ends up getting fixed overall, but we can just at least talk about what they've picked so far. The gun tank would be actually pretty funny, but I do have to say gun tank, even if it's not picked, I think that gun tank is actually a pretty strong unit on this level. You get a lot of mileage, like every suit that has AoE damage on this level, using those rockets to shoot from the high ground to the low ground, and you can just chunk their entire team if you get that right positioning.
What I'd like to see is also gun tank combined with the new Gundam. I mean, I feel like there's a great way to, especially with this tournament being one of the more repair-heavy tournaments so far, that you could really utilize that passive for the gun tank. But yeah, with Mafty taking the early lead there, unfortunately with a crash for Batty, we're not getting the restart. We're just going to go ahead and continue the game because it was so early on. Mafty taking that A site, and we're going over to B actually for the next point.
All right, well, again, this is just one round of 3 here on Mountain R&D, and yeah, we're not going to get the AC jump. There's going to have to be some recovery for sure on the side of Team Char here. They are currently sort of sitting in their spawn. I think their biggest I would say would be to kind of try to preemptively take B at this point. They're not going to get that many points just retaking A, but already you can see how many members of Mafty are trying to just watch every angle.
This is a really swarm heavy too, like dive heavy composition coming out from Mafty. Having that Zaku 2 range, having the dive of Nox. Arrow does have to be careful, dropped a little bit low, but he's able to back out, pick up a health pack. That's going to be all the percentage point going the way of Mafty as we now swap on over to B site. Quick kickoff from Arrow, but the backup is there. No, never mind. He picks up 2 off of that Heat Hawk slash. Subject also has that Hades ready to finish off the fight, but the point unlocked in 10 more seconds, and it's all Mafty in control of this site.
Yeah, they held such a great control of just that top area. They actually jumped to both sides before the first site ended, and so they will already be in control completely. Kaiser flying over, trying to potentially find a flank, but Zyrus already gets picked off by Focus, so they're already down a player in this fight. We're going to see a little bit of a jump up there from Nox, just trying to see if there's anybody to pick off, but there's not even anybody close enough, and that, I mean, bodes well, because you're just sitting there getting points.
Oh man, you can feel the anticipation. They want to push up. Subject, no, gets burned down. It's going to be Lifted who actually falls throughout all of that. Still though, the kills coming on in. That's going to be 3 pickups now. And they're not able to utilize any of their G maneuvers for this hold. Despite the punch coming out, it delays only just for a moment there. And so Char will be able to pick up their first percentage points here in this round. 10% and ticking up, but they still have a long ways to go to try and match Mafty.
That was a beautifully executed punch into Firebomb. That was exactly what you want to actually do there. But oh my gosh, the honest Subject just got absolutely melted by those headshots. You hear beep, 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 and it's just melt. Batty trying to fight up there on the high ground. Not going to have the easiest time. Has to back up just slightly. But oh, Nox, that's scary. Zyrus has to be wary of somebody just jumping up into the air. And no kills from the core fighter. Unfortunate.
Oh man, I don't know. Is Arrow on, the Zaku 2 range, or is he on the custom, just taking out all of these gun tanks at this point? Batty is sent back to spawn. Now, for Char, we do have 4 G maneuvers online, almost 5. Kaiser is there. Same on the other side for Mafty. So this is about to be absolute chaos.
Ooh, this is, a huge G maneuver from Nox. That's 3 down at least, and the rest of the team is so low. Gets 1 follow-up himself, and Batty going down 2. Nox staying alive through the entire thing. That is why Nox is one of our MVP potentials.
Okay, I come from Overwatch, and right there I had flashbacks of Genji blades. That was beautiful coming out from Nox. Now extra time taking away Mafty. Take a convincing round number 1.
Oh my gosh, that was again the best opportunity that I think Char had to fight back into that game, completely shut down by that single G maneuver. It is very difficult to avoid any sort of, I guess, I don't know how to exactly explain it, but any G maneuver that covers an entire lane in this map. Like, for example, that G maneuver, the Unicorn G maneuver can be very strong, just firing down these lanes. The punch, of course, we've seen be absolutely amazing. So using those well when your opponent is trying to push up to the high ground can mean literally everything. And now we are one round away from Mafty becoming our champions of best in the West. We need Team Char to make some sort of adaptation.
Well, for sure. Remember, if they want the reverse sweep, well, you got to get the reverse sweep in rounds as well, right? So maybe they're just building up the tension, the anticipation for it. But for Mafty, they're looking absolutely immaculate here. A little stumbles early on, but they picked it up once again, and they are showing their dominance. They're proving why they were able to be back-to-back over again, winning tournament after tournament. Now they're just one short round away. No swaps coming in for compositions. Baddie sticking with that gun take as well. Devotion on that Unicorn too. What kind of swaps can they make? What kind of adjustments can they make for this one? We're starting it off on the outside here on the C site.
Well, at the very least, they're going to be able to start a lot stronger this time around. At least they have the opportunity to, no disconnects. That was very unfortunate, but they're going to have to take this and run with it. Unfortunately, both Baddie and Zyros getting picked immediately is going to give a great position to Mafty as C begins to unlock.
They get the first initial pick off. Nox was able to get into the back line, but ultimately, Offbeat Alligator will be able to take him out. And they should have the numbers advantage now on the point. Subject has to be careful. No, he is overextended, and Zyros punishes him with that flame and the follow-up damage. Arrow, though, will go ahead and maintain some presence here. It was Mafty taking the point, 12% and ticking up. Enders finds a knock onto Arrow. Now they want to try and chase after this one. Nox does find the kill onto Zyros, though, throughout all this chaos. Now we are going over to B. You can see the early rotations already coming out. Actually, no. This is just scrappy. This is just fighting all over the place.
Actually, this is something I gotta just point out in the middle. I just realized because of their roster changes, I think this is actually now the full Team Gundam Unicorn that we saw originally, even in like Halloween Havoc and Celestial Assault. I think that's what Team Char has switched to. I believe that's the full roster. They haven't been playing with that the rest of the time with players like David, for example, but I think that's the case. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but as I say that, they are taking the site for the first time. However, it's only 4%. They're now gonna have to fight for B. They're up in numbers, so they have to hold this position strong.
And either side drawing on G maneuvers. Offbeat Alligator and Nox actually fairly close towards that Hades and that Barbados G maneuver, dropping down onto one. -1 on the mouth. No, they back away just to stay alive in time, but the Barbados is there in the back. Nox ends up falling though. The 2-for-2 exchange, but the repair is coming in to get Enders back on up. Point B is about to unlock, and it's going to be the Hades coming in for Nox to try and finish off Ballistic, who is extremely low. There it is. He finds the follow-up damage, and Char will keep things alive. Now they still have their work cut out for them. They have to make up 30 percentage points here, but Mafty coming back. They will have the punch ready. Maybe Ballistic is able to get that Screaming Nimbus up.
If Char can hold on here, though, they will gain the lead for the first time in this map. And they really need to hold on to that. There we go, Focus finally getting the punch, and the punch can be very deadly, catching people in these hallways right here. However, we're going to see a lot of Team Char just kind of hiding by their spawn ramp going into B. That is a really aggressive push here. It's actually going to backfire. So we're going to see Kaiser go down, Zyros go down as well. Devotion going to be the third, and that is almost undoubtedly going to be the entirety of B going now, or the rest of B, I should say, going to Mafty as it switches to A.
And even 60% coming in for Mafty there. Baddie getting chased down. He does back away onto that mini health pack. Still getting chased though, and he has to be careful as they back away. Zyros does go down. They're looking for that repair, and they will not be able to stop it from the Mafty side. Take a look at all the G maneuvers coming online. Almost 5 for Char. We have only 4. You know that leads down. Listic has that Screaming Nimbus ready. Points about to unlock. Arrow finds that first pick onto Baddie.
Oh no, they do not want to be down as this site opens up. I think this will be a guaranteed win if it's held the entire time. It's not going to be the end if there can be a little bit of percentage taken from the side of Char, but that is going to be a big G maneuver. Actually, a lot of big G maneuvers all in a row, and we're going to see finally Batty get something with the core fighter, but the counter Hades from Omni's subject is going to take down 3 members of Team Char, maybe even 4, and that is going to be nearly a full team wipe. There is maybe one more big push in Char's time to be able to take this back. Otherwise, this is going to be the end for them.
G maneuvers be damned. Just go ahead and use them all. No longer are we focusing on rotation. No more discipline about that. It's all a scrap for the finish here. And now with Mafty finding the picks, it's going to be a 1-for-1 exchange as Focus and Zyros falls. 98, 99. Someone needs to get onto the point for Char, but here it is, the back line, and that will be the finish. Mafty will close this out in clean fashion. The 3-0, your champions for the GENL Best of the West.
They have earned the title Best of the West for sure. I don't think that was a question in anybody's mind. Very well deserved. You love to see the play in that final game where a lot of these teams were trying some new things just to try it out. But overall, like I said, not only are they the best in the West, but the fact that their sister team technically got second means that they're kind of the double best of the West. And Mafty, despite the fact that they got run back on them in the previous tournament, have come back and proven themselves to still be consistently the strongest team in the West, even when there are players from other regions introduced, and you love to see it. It's the kind of dedication that you love to see push a team to that level. And, you know, we got to see some of these videos talking about, or where Enders actually was talking about how even though they are winning so much as a team, they continue to try to improve. And it's weird to say that because Enders, of course, was on the second place team here, but it really is almost in its own way one big team. But congratulations to them. Very well deserved for sure.
Yeah, no resting on the laurels. That's what he said. Always go back on tape, take a look at it, make sure we improve for the next one. And I'm so glad to see it again. It's been an amazing weekend of matches. We got some great moments, multiple best of threes this time around, which is always fun to be able to see that come through. But it was a 3-0 finish for Mafty. They will be walking away with that $1,000 purse, splitting that amongst the squad. And of course, whatever else our great viewers were able to contribute throughout the weekend. So thank you all so much for that. Now, we do have a few more things to get through, though, because we still have our MVP vote. We need to find out who that is. So we're going to get word from production sooner or later what that is. We also have to take a look at the stats for that end of the map, because I love that we've been able to add on more and more features for this tournament. We are continuing to grow here for GENL. I'm so excited that I've been able to do this with you as well, Evan.
Me too. This is, I mean, I'm always just looking forward to this so much, and especially over the past month where, you know, we haven't had any of our tournaments in particular. It's been like, oh, I really miss it. Like it's kind of a bummer not being able to do it because it started happening pretty frequently, but I'm glad that we were back for this. We got to showcase a lot of power from a lot of different regions. We got to showcase just again how our players have grown. We will be, of course, going into, you know, the official like $20,000 tournament soon. We actually have another tournament that is part of the Pilot Academy coming up soon. I believe it's called Final Strike. Don't forget to sign up for that. That's coming up very, very soon. It's going to be, I think, your last chance, at least with GENL, to be able to get points for the Pilot Academy. You want to qualify for sure, but you know that I'm for sure rooting for every single player that is in here. It's great to see how they've grown. It's great to see like what new suits they use and what new strategies they have and how they're using the new stuff. Like, for example, the heavy arms, which we got to see this time. We got to see the Hyperion last time. So it's always just such a great time for me. It's just too fun.
Yeah, Final Strike will be taking place this weekend, and so it's nonstop action here for competitive Gundam Evolution, and I am all here for it. Still waiting on word from our production to see what we're going to be doing next. I would love to, of course, take a look at the stats just again to see maybe David, is he just unmatched in terms of damage when it comes down to it? Will he be able to at least finish off that streak?
Well, remember though, they actually switched David out for this map. This was the one where
they did. Never mind.
I know. We're just that's all we got to think about with the stats, right? It's just like okay, in my brain, it's stats, David. okay, what else happened, right? Like, that's just how it's been going through this entire day. I don't know if you've ever seen anybody this dominant as far as damage numbers, but like I said, I'm pretty sure, somebody in chat tell me if this is true. I believe this is the full original roster of Team Gundam Unicorn that was playing in like kind of the end of last year. We've got Batty back, we have Devotion. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Regardless, you can see pretty high damage across the board.
Yeah, but man, Subject, excuse me, doing a fantastic job. And really do want to highlight Arrow, who has been spectacular on that Zaku 2 range, even in the matchups. You know, it honestly felt like it came down to a lot of the Zaku 2 range matchups just being a difference between who got the support first, who got the peel to come back to help out in that Zaku 2 range duel. But Arrow was doing an amazing job all tournament long on it.
Oh yeah, I mean, Arrow, one of the few players that we got to see play Zaku 2 ranged relatively consistently before the most recent set of buffs and before this kind of meta shifted into a place where maybe it's just generally better for Zaku 2 ranged, which I'd have to assume is kind of the case just because we've seen so much of it from so many players over the course of this tournament. So great to see somebody who has dedicated their time to a suit kind of get their time to shine with it. Of course, Arrow has always been amazing with that, and the RX-78 and just kind of like whatever Arrow wants to play, but this was kind of like a pop-off tournament, even extra, as far as, you know, you're already on the winning team and you're already an amazing player, but you just get to show off even more with a suit that you just enjoy to play clearly. So, I mean, huge congrats to Arrow. I'm always a big fan.
Yeah, and also I want to shout out all of our Sazabi players. It's been a difficult tournament. We got to see how much focus was being put onto them, and this was, you know, a big turnaround because the meta shifted into pretty drastic way, especially if you're the main tank player of a squad. Losing out on a support, right? Even if it's the extra armor provided by a Unicorn or the solo heals coming out from a Methus, you actually had that. We got to see a difference here in how teams had to play and regroup, because a lot of the times it seemed like people were just either waiting for the Pale Rider heal or everyone just grouped around a mini health pack, just kind of around the bonfire waiting for it.
Yeah. I mean, aside from certain points where people really felt like Unicorn was really strong, we only saw, I think, a robot almost is the only, or on Team Tekka Dynasty is the only like methods of almost the entire broadcast. I'm sure there was some probably off stream, but it is wild to see people going so much for that kind of prevent damage and then try to win the fight and then just heal back naturally rather than actually trying to heal up with any sort of active abilities within the fight, aside from, of course, the Pale Rider healing pack. And it tended to work out, right? It seemed like it worked out pretty much every single time that people started going for, especially like we had the Hyperion Sazabi double shield type comps, which were going very, very well. The Hyperion showing off that it's still really useful, even though it's not going to do quite as much damage as it was before the most recent patch. It's just an interesting shift overall to the meta. We tend to see interesting shifts every single time. I feel like this is like one of the bigger ones, but it allowed, I think, some players to show off in different ways. And yeah, the tanks, the Sazabis in particular, definitely had a tough life this time around. They're moving out, they're like, I'm trying to push forward. And then just getting